So in this video, we are looking at solving for specific variable. So solving for specific variable basically means change of subject or formula. So when we say change of subject or formula, we are talking about making a certain variable the subject of the formula. And if a variable is being made the subject of formula, it is expected that the variable does not reappear in the equation again. That is, it is being made the subject. How do I mean? For instance, if I have, say, 3x plus 2 is equal to what? 5x minus 3. And I'm required to make x the subject of formula. What it implies is that I'll first, collect the like terms. So if I collect the like terms, I'm going to be having, say, 3x, right? If 5x is coming here to be minus 5x, will be equal to what? Minus 3. 2 is going here, will give us what? Minus 2. So 3x minus 5x will give us minus 2x. Now be what? Minus 5. Alright, so for me to make x the subject formula, I divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is minus 2. Divided by minus 2. So basically x will now be what? Minus cancel minus. That is 5 over 2. So the subject of this formula is what? 5 over 2, which actually represents the solution to this problem. But there are cases whereby you have more than one variable in an equation, and you have to make a specific variable the subject of formula. So these are some of the things we are going to be looking at in the next example. But you have to understand that whenever a variable is being made the subject of formula, irrespective of the number of variables present in that particular equation, that variable that is being made the subject of formula must not reappear in the original equation after it has been made the subject of formula. So that is that. So a formula is an equation that states the relationship between two or more variables. So that's very important. So you may be given a formula and you'll be having more than one variable. Maybe variable x is something like maybe 3x plus 2y minus z is equal to what? 13k. This is a formula. And you may be required to make x the subject of formula. So it implies that x must stand alone. Alright, so formula and some equations contain more than one variable. So we are going to be looking at an example in which we make a specific variable, the subject of the formula. So let's move on. So look at this question. It says solve each equation or formula for the specified variable. So for a, we have 3x minus a is equal to kx plus b. So we are making x the subject of the formula. What does that mean? It implies that we are making x to stand alone. So we have 3x minus a is equal to what? Kx plus what? B. So for us to make x the subject formula, we have to bring all the terms that carries x together. So I'll take kx, I'll take ks to this side and I'll bring minus a to this side. Both of them are crossing equality sign. So ks will turn to minus ks. So we have 3x minus what? Kx, right? Will now be equal to b. Minus a coming here, it will become plus what? A. So the next thing is, you notice that we are making x the subject of formula. So we can factor x out in this particular what? Expression here. So we can say x, because x is common to both of the terms. So we have x into bracket 3 minus what? K is equal to what? B plus what? A. So the next thing is to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is 3 minus k. So we divide by 3 minus k, divide by 3 minus what? K. Alright, so 3 minus k cancel 3 minus k. So we have x is equal to what? B plus a over what? 3 minus what? K. And you realize that we do not have the value of x again in this equation because it is already the subject of the formula. All right, so that is that about that. Then let's move on to question B. So let me put question B by the side. So for question B, we have a is equal to 1 over 2 into bracket a plus b to bracket h. This is actually the area of a trapezium. So we are making h the subject of the formula. So I can rewrite this as what? A is equal to what? A plus b into bracket h over 2, right? I've done something similar to that. Half of this is equal to this over 2. Then, so we are making h the subject of formula, so we cross multiply. So if we cross multiply, we are going to be having what? This is over 1, obviously. So we have what? A plus B into brackets what? H is equal to A times 2. That is what? 2A. Alright, so don't forget that H is what we are making the subject formula, and we don't have H inside here. We don't have, so we divide both sides by the term that is multiplied by H. Some people will call it the coefficient of H, and that is A plus B. So we divide it by what? A plus B. Divide by A plus what? B. Okay, this cancel this, so we have H will now be what? 2A over what? A plus what? B. So that is that about that. So that's the subject of the formula. Then let's move on to C. Okay, let me scroll up. I've exhausted the space. Okay, I can still remember the question. So for C we have C is equal to 5 over 9, right, into bracket F minus what? 32, right? So in this case, what we are required to do is to make, right, F the subject of the formula. Okay, so we are solving for F. So to make F the subject formula, there are two ways we can do it. So we can just use 5 over 9 to multiply everything inside this bracket, but instead of me to do that, I would like to first re-express this particular equation. So I can write that C will now be what? 5 into bracket F minus 32, everything over 9. So obviously this is over 1. So 9 times 1, 9. 5 times everything. So I've not opened the bracket yet. So then the next thing is I'll cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, I will have what? 5 into bracket F minus 32 will be equal to 9 times C. That is 9C. So don't forget that F is what we're making the subject of the formula, and it's a bit complicated. So there are two ways I can do it. Is that I divide both sides by the coefficient of what is inside this bracket, so that F will stand alone, or I first open the bracket, then I transfer all the terms that does not contain F to the other side. So I will do it in those two ways. Perhaps somebody may like it, so let me split this page so that I can do it in those two ways. The first way is I want to open the bracket. I have 5 times F will give us 5F, then 5 times minus 32, 5 times minus 32, that will give us minus 160. Minus 160 is equal to what? 9C. So minus 160 has to come to this side so that 5F will stand alone. So we have 5F will now give us what? 9C plus 160, because it's minus and it's crossing the equality sign. So we now, to get F, we divide both sides by the coefficient of F, which is 5, divided by 5, divided by 5. So 5 cancel 5. So at the end of it, we have that what? F is equal to what? 9C plus 160 over 5, right? So this is not a simplified form, so we can still say that F is equal to what? 9C over 5 plus 160 over 5. That is still correct, because if I take the LCM, this 5 is common to both of them, so we can distribute the 5 to each of them to simplify. So we have F will now be what? 9 over 5C plus then 160 divided by 5 will give us what? 32. So this is the correctly simplified version of F. I mentioned something the other time, that this particular equation, I can decide to divide both sides by the coefficient of F minus what? F into bracket F minus 32, 5 into bracket F minus 32 is equal to C, instead of me opening the bracket. So I put or. So I'm bringing this here. So if you have 5 into bracket F minus 32 is equal to what? 9C. So let me divide both sides by coefficient of F minus 32. That's divided by 5, right? This cancel what? This. So I have F minus 32 is equal to what? 9C over 5. Alright, to make F the subject formula, I've moved minus 32 to this side and it will become plus, right? It will become plus here. So we have F is equal to what? 9C over 5 plus what? 32. So if I want to write it in a standard mathematics notation, to be F is equal to 9 over 5 what? C. This is 32, pardon me, plus what? 32. So if you compare the two, you see that we have the same thing. I want to believe this video has helped someone. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.